This is episode number 46 of the Cowgirl Confessions podcast featuring Cassie Vaughan. This episode is brought to you by the Cowgirls Over Coffee membership, a membership that connects rural and Western women with the strategies and support they need to purposefully manage daily life. You can learn more about the Cowgirls Over Coffee membership on Instagram at Cowgirls Over Coffee. Hey y'all, and welcome. You're listening to the Cowgirl Confessions podcast. I'm your host, Dakota Dawn Johnson, small-town cowgirl with Southern roots, blazing a trail as a Midwest ranch wife, mama, and businesswoman. The mission of Cowgirl Confessions is to share the wonderfully wild and Western life stories of cowgirls from all walks of life. We'll talk about the highs, the lows, and everything in between when it comes to navigating careers, cowboys, kids, and cattle. Legendary cowgirl Dale Evans said it best. Cowgirl is a pioneer spirit, a special brand of American courage. The cowgirl faces life head on, lives by her own lights, and makes no excuses. Cowgirls take stands. They speak up. They defend the things they hold dear. A cowgirl might be a rancher, a barrel racer, a bull rider, or an actress, but she's just as likely to be a checker at the local Winn-Dixie, a full-time mother, a banker, an attorney, or an astronaut. If you're into wet saddle blankets, talks with God, buckets full of laughter, and the life lessons learned in the process, kick off your boots and settle in. I pray these stories encourage, empower, and give you just the leg up you need. Here's to embracing the cowgirl state of mind, no matter how wild and Western life may get along the way. Welcome to another episode of the Cowgirl Confessions podcast. I'm happy to have you here with us today. I've been doing a lot of reflecting lately, maybe because it's the start of a new year. And one of the things that keeps popping up in my reflection is how grateful I am for the opportunity to be a part of the International Professional Rodeo Association. I joined the IPRA family back in 2010 when I served as their official ambassador, Miss Rodeo USA. And after that, I had the privilege of serving as the Cowgirls Breakaway roping director. On this episode, I really wanted to feature someone who has a special place in their heart as well for the IPRA. And we are going to be visiting with the current Cowgirls Breakaway roping director, Cassie Vaughan. She calls Michigan home, is a third grade school teacher, and also sitting number 3 in the world. I hope you enjoy this conversation as much as I did, and best of luck to all the IFR qualifiers. If you're interested in learning more about the International Professional Rodeo Association and the IFR, you can visit www.iprarodeo.com. Let's jump right in, Cassie. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate what you're doing, and I love what you're doing. I think it's so great to represent the Western industry of women. So thank you very much for having me.
Oh yeah, you bet. Well, I'm just going to follow that up with a compliment to you because, you are the official breakaway roping director for the International Professional Rodeo Association. And that is a job that comes with a whole lot of hard work and responsibility, And so I'd love it if you could just give us some backstory, Cassie, on how you grew up, how you got involved with horses, and that's led into this opportunity for you to serve as the breakaway roping director.
I grew up around rodeo. My rodeo and the IPRA goes back in my family a long way. Both of my grandparents were involved in the IPRA. My grandfather, he did about everything on the time to event end, and he also was a pickup man. He picked up at IFR 3 and 4 when it was in Albuquerque. And my grandmother, she was also big in rodeo. She ran barrels, and she also did some trick riding back in her day. And she was the secretary at IFR 3 when it was in Albuquerque. So that's where my dad got it from. And then growing up, my dad roped and rodeoed, and during that time as well, my grandparents would travel around to the rodeos, and my grandpa was a pickup man, and my grandmother was a photographer, and she has a large room full of old IPRA pictures and just those memories of growing up and going to those rodeos. I have lots of family friends throughout the IPRA still from those growing up and going to those rodeos, and watching my dad and my grandparents and my mom rode a little bit before she had us kids, but watching my family do all of this, that's kind of where I got into it. And growing up, I high school rodeoed, I ran barrels, I tied goats, and I roped, but I really just took to the roping. It's just something that me and my dad have a bond over. I really enjoy the roping aspect of rodeo. I like riding the horses, watching the horses work. Just the whole roping aspect just really draws me in.
And so you grew up in Ottawa Lake, Michigan, but you
Yes.
lived in Oklahoma for a stint. Did you move to Oklahoma for college, or how did that happen? Because what brought you to Oklahoma?
I got a scholarship to rodeo. I rodeoed for Rogers State in Claremore for a year. And then I transferred to Southwestern Oklahoma State in Weatherford, Oklahoma. And I kind of stayed around Weatherford for the next 10 years after I left Rogers. And so I college rodeoed for 4 years, and I stayed there. I just really enjoyed getting to rope all the time. And of course, it's a little hard sometimes to rope and do things you want to in the winter time right now in Michigan, but I learned a lot living 12 years in Oklahoma, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. And getting to rope, and I learned so much about my roping and riding horses, and throughout those 12 years, it really changed me. It really did, as far as my roping goes and being competitive.
And now, who are some of the people that really have helped you become the level of a breakaway roper and horsewoman that you are today?
Of course, it starts with my dad. He taught me how to rope. He put me on good horses. He put me on horses I could learn how to rope on. And that's I feel like in breakaway roping and with young kids, that is such a big aspect of learning the correct way to rope, is if you have a good horse that is patient with the rider, but you can also be patient with yourself as well, because it's hard. I mean, roping is hard. It's a hard thing to learn and hard to ride a horse at the same time. When I explain it to people are just like, at school and stuff, people are like, you ride a horse and you swing and you swing a rope at the same time. And I'm like, yeah, I do. And, it's just, I definitely my dad, but second to that is Jenna Lee Hayes. She's now Jenna Lee Adams. She got married, and we have been best friends since I went to school at Southwestern. We rodeoed together for a long time. Through our friendship, I have learned so much from her, from roping to just life things. We just have had the best time getting to rodeo together. So I definitely have taken away a lot of things from her.
Yeah, Jenna Lee, she's one of those, like, she's a fierce competitor. And so to have somebody like that, iron sharpens iron. And so that's awesome to just hear those grassroots and how you continue to grow, in that discipline. And now, Cassie, moving into this breakaway roping position, I was thrilled when I saw that you were taking over that position, because, like, it's been 11 years ago that the groundwork started for this to become an official event at the IFR. And in January, this will make a decade. 10 years that women have been getting to back in the box and rope for a world title with the IPRA. So when I saw that you were taking over this position, I was just so
so grateful, honestly, because a lot of blood, sweat, tears, and time from lots of people went into, just getting Dale Jurgen and the board to give this a chance, really believe in it. And to see somebody like you that is a great listener, that's a great competitor, and also somebody that's just going to be a great spokesperson for the sport. I was just so happy, to know that it was going to keep moving in a positive direction. But being in this type of position does not come without its challenges. And so I would love if you could just share with us, some of your favorite things about being the IPRA Breakaway Roping Director, as well as, some challenges that you face as a director.
For sure, some of my favorite things about being the director is giving back to this association. I have so many great memories and family friends and things from, I learned a lot growing up from this association. And of course, representing our sport, our event. I think that breakaway roping definitely adds to your rodeo. It's fun. They like to see us women do something, even faster than running around 3 barrels. And I think if I had a great barrel horse and could go and do both of them at the same time, I'd sure be doing that too. But, breakaway roping, people enjoy it. It's fast, it's easy to understand. And so I enjoy promoting it for sure. Some struggles, my struggles are that I'm so passionate about it that sometimes that gets in my way. Sometimes I have to step back and say, it's okay that I tell myself it's okay that they don't see it right now. They'll see it eventually, and because sometimes I get in my own way, and I just say, it's okay, just take a step back and let them just put their foot in the water, and then eventually they'll put both feet in the water,
Yeah.
So sometimes I have to just be patient with the process.
Yeah, that rings so true. And you being a good listener and just, actually absorbing and taking the time when somebody shares why maybe they're not about it. I remember when we were first trying to get this thing off the ground, and there were lots of no's, and now that I'm in sales, I think, man, the IPRA and this breakaway roping gig, that really helped build a foundation in my sales ability, because the sales starts when somebody says no. Otherwise it's pretty easy, but you really have to sell something to somebody that doesn't believe in it, like you said, at the level you do when you're so passionate. And it's taken time, but it's just continued to grow over the years. And
when it comes to navigating careers, cowboys, kids, and cattle, it can feel lonely sometimes, like you're down in the trenches trying to do all the things. But I want to share with you that it doesn't have to feel that way. I joined the Cowgirls Over Coffee membership in May of 2020, and y'all, it has been such a gift. It has allowed me to connect with women with that Western and rural background that simply get it. They understand what I'm working with. We get to share strategies, encouragement, and hold each other accountable as we're pursuing goals in all of these different areas of life. Annual enrollment opens up again on January 20th, and I want to invite you to join us. I think that this could be exactly what you're looking for. To learn more, visit cowgirlsovercoffee.com or check out episode 45 of the Cowgirl Confessions podcast that features the founder of Cowgirls Over Coffee, Thea Larson. I hope to see you there.
Those of you who have been stock contractors, rodeo producers, board members, and the girls buying your cards long before there was, equal added money or anything like that at some of these rodeos, like you stepped up and you took action on something, even if it was in this infancy stage. And it's just that you got to crawl, you got to walk, you got to run. You can't, it's a phase. And I'm just so proud to see how far it's come. And I just want to thank you again, because you have you've invested a lot of time, a lot of effort, and really started getting some great awards for the IFR qualifiers too. And that's a big undertaking.
Well, thanks. And it wouldn't, like I've said this before, it wouldn't be where it is today without, you who started, you started it out, and the directors between you and I mean, this takes a village. It really does. And you learn from everybody around you. And what I like about this position as well is just that, you learn all the aspects. It's not just about backing in the box and running a calf. It's where you're getting those calves from, where you're getting the added money from, where, what all the work goes into. It's just like these finals coming up, all the work that goes into these finals that the IPRA is putting on. I mean, it's not just about, backing in the box or getting on a saddle bronc horse or, anything like that. There's so many other aspects, and it's really, it really opened your eyes to a lot of things. And as far as the girls getting their qualifier awards, I know how hard these girls work to get to where we are, and the money and the sweat and the blood and the I'm gonna say the tears, because I know some of us shed tears about it, and all the drives and all that stuff. I want them girls to know, when they show up, I want them to have nice things and things that they can remember this finals by, for sure. So I really appreciate my sponsors, the people that donate every year. And this year, I did something a little different, and I had, I asked for individual sponsors for each girl, and that just exceeded my limits, because I wasn't, with the way the world is right now, I was not sure how that would work. And I know the hard times people and businesses are having, but it really did exceed my limits. And I can't wait to see the girls' faces when they come into all these things that people have donated and the money that people have donated to them. I'm sure excited about it.
When you're in that position, or at any point trying to get sponsors, it is hard to go out and ask, okay, you got 15 qualifiers and you're trying to get something for all of them. But I loved how you made this opportunity to where even, the Cowgirl Confessions podcast is sponsoring one of the Breakaway ropers at the IFR this year. And it's because you set it up in a way to where some of us that couldn't maybe do something for all 15, we could contribute in a way, and then you were handling the details on your end to make sure all the girls got things. And so I just think that's awesome, and a way to think outside the box and really, business savvy on your behalf.
Well, thanks. I kind of took the idea from me and Sherry Ray Roberts, the barrel racing director. We kind of got that idea from the bull riding director, who's Nathan Toll, and Sherry Ray did it last year for her barrel racers, and she's like, Cassie, you really need to try it. And so I tried it this year, and it exceeded my expectations, and I'm really glad it's working out for everybody involved. And for sure, I'm really glad I can get some advertising out for your podcast and the other companies or other individuals that donated to these girls. It really means a lot. And I wasn't even I put in my email about asking for donations. I even said it can be up to as much as you want or as little as you want. Every little bit helps. And I don't want anybody to feel like it's just a handout. I want them to know that it's going to somebody who's appreciating what they're doing for us. And I want them to get a little something back out of it too. So if I can do a little advertising for them, I hope that it does something for them as well.
Absolutely. Now, Cassie, there may be some people listening on here that aren't familiar with what all you really do in your role as the Breakaway Roping Director. And each event has a director as well, as you mentioned. Can you take us through some of those things, just explaining, when it comes to rule changes, contestants with issues, how does your role really work?
One of the first things that we do throughout the years, we attend a phone conference meeting. That's where I take part in voting on, issues that come to us. It's not just on rule proposals or things like that. We might have an issue come up with a contestant, sending in something that they think that was unfair, and we have to vote on it. We have about 4 meetings a year. So I sit in on that. One of the biggest meetings we have is a rule proposal meeting, that takes place. We have our first round of rule proposals. It usually happens in about August or September. And we go through, and any proposed rules that people have sent in, and we have a deadline for those, and anybody can send in a rule proposal. They can read our rule book and say, I don't like, that rule just doesn't work. Let's try and change it around. And for instance, this year, one of the rules, I added to our rule book was, you could not be eligible for Rodeo of the Year if your rodeo does not include breakaway roping. So it has to include all the 7 standard events plus breakaway roping to be on the list and eligible for Rodeo of the Year. So that will be included in the 2022 rules. So we vote on those, and the board will talk about how this is going to benefit the association and how this is going to benefit the contestants and things like that. And then we put those rule proposals out to the public. Now, during that time, I take it upon myself to call around, or, I say, hey, have you read the rule proposals? What do you think? And I'll ask contestants, I'll ask stock contractors, I'll even ask, if I know a committee member, that's really involved in the association, I'll ask, and, I'll just say, what do you think? And I try, and my goal is to try and hear sides of it. So I'm not just basing it off of my opinion, because ultimately my role is to represent my breakaway roping membership and the membership outside the breakaway roping as well. I can't, sometimes I can't just be all for breakaway ropers, but I am most of the time. Then we come back in, I believe it's like October, maybe beginning in November. And we finalize those rule proposals. We vote to vote them into our rule book. And then after that, we kind of get ready for the IFR. And I throughout the whole year, I take girls' calls on, on certain calves at a rodeo, and whatever rodeo I'm going to, I really make sure and do a good job of watching the calves and making sure that, the stock contractors are doing a good job as far as giving us a good set of calves to rope. And I know that not all sets of calves can be perfect, but I mean, at least, I watch to make sure at least the calves that they're bringing are following our rule book. And if they're not following our rule book, I'll kindly go up and ask, or mention, hey, what do you think about taking this calf off? Or if somebody calls me and I haven't been to that rodeo and they say, we got some calves that, they're doing this or they're doing that and they don't follow the rules, and I can give them suggestions on how to handle it, or I can, also take it upon myself if they don't feel like calling, and I'll call the stock contractor and kindly talk to them about it. I'm not one to come up and just tell you, hey, you got to do this, you got to take this calf off. I'll ask you first for sure, and talk to you. And the thing I really respect about a lot of the stock contractors is that they will listen for sure. And they do try their best. It's definitely a hard gig for sure, being a stock contractor. I totally understand it. It's not easy, but a lot of them are real good to work with. So that's basically what I do throughout most of the year. And then as far as like getting ready for the IFR, I kind of start September and October, I start kind of getting my sponsors together and getting some gifts together for the girls. And right now I'm in Texarkana, Arkansas. They are putting on a big roping down here, and our calf contractor Marty Kuckelhand brings a set of calves here that we pick from for the IFR. Me and PJ Spencer, the calf roping director, we pick from this set of calves that he has here. And the Breakaway ropers just roped them this morning. I got to rope them this morning. And then the tie down ropers will also rope them this afternoon as well. This actually here in a couple hours, they'll run them through. So I'm here kind of taking notes on them. Just watching them go, trying to get a good set of 15 calves together for the girls. And I do a lot of talking back with Marty, and in 2 weeks we will have the calves at the IFR. So it's kind of a whirlwind right now, but it all comes together and it works out. And I couldn't be more thankful to work with Marty Kuckelhand. He is so great to work with. So.
Well, two of the things you said, Cassie, describing your role and what all goes into it that just really stand out to me as being just great leadership qualities is first, you said you really seek counsel, you listen to other people, you get feedback, especially when it comes to those rule changes and seeing different sides of how, how it could affect the business for the stock contractor. Got to have these certain rules around the size and then all the things with the calves. And then also, hearing from a producer and like you said, rodeo of the year, having that added in now. I mean, it's so important, like you said, just to really be a listener and get some feedback from different people. And, that was one of the things kind of getting the Breakaway roping off the ground. I was so grateful to have people that would, not just listen, but give their feedback, because in the beginning, it's like there was that small window, of how do we get in 2010 as, we're sharing this idea, how do we get it to where there can be Breakaway roping at, IFR 42 in January of 2012. So all that had to be determined basically in 2010, and one of the first things we did for the rules is that the first set of Breakaway roping rules for the IPRA they were derived from the rule book for the IFYR that's held in Shawnee every summer. And while those rules at the time, one of the biggest things was it was a catch as catch can rule. Didn't have to be bell collar catch. And while, I love that is the rule now, in the beginning, we just had to get our foot in the door. We had to get some rules in place. Those were already there. They got voted on, said yes. And so we went a year and then that rule got updated. But I love how you said you just were able to listen to people there. And then, also when you were talking about that, just not being afraid to have hard conversations sometimes. And that's one of the biggest things I feel like really makes a person, when you really lean into that and learn how to do it well. I mean, you're a teacher, so without a doubt, I'm sure you have to have hard conversations every day, but especially in this director role, when somebody calls you, they're normally not calling to say everything's great. They're calling because there's a challenge and you're their go-to. And so just like you said, being willing to step in and have those hard conversations, but knowing there's a right way and a wrong way to have them. It sounds like you've got it figured out.
Yeah, it's definitely, it kind of makes me laugh every now and then because, I know some of these stock contractors from when I was in diapers. Mm-hmm. Cause they were stock contractors when my dad was going, and my grandpa picked up for some of them. And it just makes me giggle because now I'm 33 years old and gonna be 33 here in a month. And they don't, they can't see me as that little girl in diapers anymore. And, and I have to come up to them and talk to them about these hard situations. And I just want them to know at the beginning, before we even start about anything, that how grateful I am that we're even here and you're even allowing us, because they don't have to, yep. They don't have to have breakaway roping. And so just knowing that, I just want them to know, first and foremost, I have the utmost respect for them. and what they do, because being a stock contractor is hard, and how thankful I am for them at the same time. But, it just makes me laugh every now and then about that situation. And I try and I hope I handle it the best I can.
You're not only the director, but you are, qualified in the Cowgirls breakaway rope, and you're sitting number 3 in the world right now, right?
Yes.
Okay. Sitting number 3 right now. So let's talk a little bit about your horsepower.
My brother tore his knee up one summer, and his good horse got hurt real bad. And so my dad, while my brother was hurt and trying to nurse his good horse back to health, he went out and bought this green horse, this mare. And they messed with her for a while, and Clay rode her, and my brother Clay, and he took her to the college rodeos and rode her. And I had went up to Alva to watch him rope, and I watched him rope on her there. And I kind of looked at my dad and I said, I think she'd be a better breakaway horse, Dad. And he said, yeah, I kind of think she would be too. And I think my brother Clay was kind of toying with the idea as well. And he had got the opportunity to buy another horse a few months later, and I was the first one he called. He said, he asked me if I wanted to buy her. And at the time I didn't have a horse. I had sold one and just didn't really go a whole lot that summer, and just kind of was sitting back. I guess I was just sitting back, kind of waiting for the right opportunity to buy one, which it's hard to do these days. But luckily Clay, he's like, I got another horse lined up I want to buy. He's like, if you'll buy her from me, it'll really help me out. So I bought her, and I will tell you, this has been a big test for me and for her as well. She still was a little green coming off of Clay. He didn't never put a whole lot of pressure on her. And the way breakaway roping is these days, these horses have got to be on point all the time. And, everything's so fast. And it took us a while to get together. And last spring, I hadn't told you about this yet, but last spring I had a vet tell me she was done. He x-rayed her, and they said she had a chip and a bone and she needed to be on stall rest. She was done. Well, I had gotten a second opinion, and I was pretty devastated, because things were starting to kind of click, but we were still having a little trouble, no major things. But I had another second opinion, and and the second opinion told me, this is a real old injury. He said, this could have happened at birth. He said, and you've already maintained her and she's working the way she is. He said, there's no way this is affecting her. He said, you keep doing what you're doing on her. Well, I kept roping on her, and I just kept toying with it. My mind was kind of playing games with me. I was like, well, maybe we just don't. I wasn't winning nothing on her, and we just weren't getting along very well. And I thought, well, maybe, she's just not for me. Some horses just aren't for people. And I kind of have, I've learned that over the years, riding different horses and watching other people ride horses and learning from other things. And so I had a meltdown one night, and my friend Jenna can attest to this. I had a big meltdown, and I was like, I just don't know if I should keep her. And I really toyed with getting rid of her. And I had made the decision to move back to Michigan right around that time as well. And I thought, well, I said, I'll keep her through this move, and we'll see kind of how we do. And I started taking her some rodeos around the house. And in the summertime where I live, you can go through June, about the middle of June through the end of July. You can go to almost a rodeo every day, because they're just right here in a circle through Ohio, Indiana, Michigan, Pennsylvania, right around here. And I thought, man, this might be a kick for her, this might be the step that she need. And she has exceeded my expectations this summer. And I'm just like, I'm like, okay, I knew that that's probably God just telling me that just be patient, and she's just has exceeded my expectations. We have had a great summer. I'm so thankful for her. We finally clicked and everything's working out, and I can't wait to rope on her at the finals. She makes it fun. She's easy to rope on. God's just testing my patience a little bit, and I just had to sit back and relax and let it all work itself out.
Oh yeah, I feel like we all have those moments, but you saying that you go through it and you grow through it, and it sounds like you and Chex have both grown through the past few years and figured it out, kind of found your mojo, if you will. So that's so exciting. And what Cassie, is you're looking ahead. We've got IFR coming up, but what are some of your goals for in and out of the arena for now, next 5-10 years even?
One of my biggest goals here coming up is I really like to win the world. It's, with the association means a lot to me. It'd just be something nice to have underneath my belt there. And but for sure, I really am looking into wanting to buy my own place and maybe getting a few other horses. I really enjoy riding horses, and I've really enjoyed this. Now that I look back, I really have enjoyed this process of finishing this mare of mine out. And I've learned from some good horse trainers. I've had help with Chex from some good horse trainers. And so I've learned little tidbits, but I would love to be able to have, and that's my goal, is to have my own place one day where I've got a few horses around to ride and to rope on. And I know, I would like to also extend on my education a little bit. I only have a bachelor's degree in early childhood education, which goes up to 3rd grade. So I'd really, eventually I would like to extend on my education and get my master's in a different area for sure.
Well, I'm confident that you will be able to achieve those things, all that, and plus some, whatever comes along the way. And you had mentioned earlier that sometimes when you were talking about being able to run barrels and breakaway rope, like it's a lot, and especially when you're working full time and everything. But most of the women listening to this podcast, like we're trying to do it all. We're trying to navigate careers, spouses, or partners, if we've got kids, fur kids or regular kids, and horses, all the things. So what advice do you have for us on how you manage to kind of navigate all of those different parts of your life effectively?
Just do what you can and be okay with it at the end of the day. That is one thing I really struggle with. It really fulfills me when I get it all done in a day. I think it fulfills a lot of people. You get done at the end of the day, you're like, oh, I checked everything off my list today. I'm that type of person. I like to make mental lists, and I like to make a hard copy list that sit on my desk, and I scratch things off all day long. But with the funny thing that teaching has taught me is that things don't always go the way your head has it planned out, and that's also what life has taught me as well too. But this horse and rodeo has taught me that all aspects of life teach you that. And but with work, I have it planned out where I get home, I change my clothes, I maybe grab a little granola bar or something, and I head straight to the barn. And sometimes I don't get out there as quick as I want to, or I have a meeting after school, or something happens, or I have an appointment or something like that. Well, there'll be nights where I rush out there and I just have this overwhelming feeling and I just can't. It's like I'm not going to get it all done. And I have to stop myself, and just because when I feel that way and I get that feeling, if I'm going to practice, for sure, my practice is terrible. I'm in such a rush to get it all done. And sometimes I have to stop myself and just say, okay, we're not going to practice tonight. We're just going to put in time. We're going to put in time riding the horse, go inside, get my papers graded, because that needs to be done for tomorrow for work. And ultimately, that's important. But just tell myself it's okay to not accomplish everything in a day. I'm pretty hard on myself when I don't get things accomplished, but I've gotten better at it over the years, that I just tell myself, it's okay. I don't get everything done in a day. We're only one person. We only have 24 hours in a day. And, sometimes things just don't go the way we plan, but what we get done is what we're supposed to get done. And it'll be there tomorrow.
Amen. I feel like we could all use that on, just record that. You know what? We are recording it. They're going to be able to go back and listen to this podcast. That was awesome advice, because the overwhelm can set in just so easily, especially when you're driven and passionate and you want to do a job and do it well. So I just appreciate you sharing that, because we all, no matter what our goals and kind of routines and stuff are, I feel like we all have a little more on our plate than we can probably get to in a day doing it all. So that it was just really nice to hear your take on that. Cassie, I have loved getting to visit with you today, just hear your heart for the IPRA, for breakaway roping and the cowgirls that make it all happen. And so, a couple of things to wrap us up here. One question I like to ask is, through all your rodeo travels and kind of growing up in this lifestyle, what is the wildest thing you've ever had to patch together on the fly with bungee cords, baling wire, or duct tape?
Well, this took me a minute to think about it, because of course, being a rodeo person, you patch things all the time, but it takes you a minute to think about it. But I remember getting ready to go practice, and I remember a spot on the back of my leg and my pants had ripped. And it's just because you're in the summer heat and it's humid and your pants are wet, and so I was like, oh man, I got some duct tape here, I'll just duct tape it. So nobody sees that back part of my leg. And so I took some duct tape and put some duct tape on a pair of pants to practice in, because they're my favorite practice pants. I can't get rid of them, but I got rid of them. So
oh, I love that. That's the first time anybody said on this podcast that they duct taped their pants, so that you're winning that one. Yeah, you got to get resourceful,
Yes.
That's part of being a cowgirl. And so my last kind of question is, this podcast is just dedicated to really sharing the cowgirl state of mind with women across the globe. And I would love to hear in your words, Cassie, what does the phrase cowgirl state of mind mean to you?
Oh, it means hard work and dedication. Being a cowgirl is hard work. It's not, nobody says it's easy. The things that we do and the things that we deal with on a day-to-day basis they're just hard things to deal with. And you always work at it, and it's a mental game. It's also physically hard on yourself as well. But if you're determined about it, and that's where the determination comes in, there's no telling what you can accomplish. So that's what I think about the cowgirl state of mind.
Well, I hope that you and every other, cowgirl and cowboy that has the opportunity to, back in the box, make their way down the alleyway, or come out of those bucking chutes at the IFR, that they all have that state of mind as you enter, those 4 performances held in January. And Cassie, can you tell us how people can follow along with you, as well as the IFR and all the action that'll be happening there?
I'm on social media, on Facebook, it's Cassie Vaughan, and on the IFR, you can follow along on the International Finals Rodeo Facebook page. You can also follow along on the IPRA Rodeo.com website, and there's an IFR tab where it will tell you where the live feed is. It will be on the Wrangler Network this year, and you'll get to watch Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday's performance there. So we're really excited.
Awesome. Well, Cassie, thanks again, and just wishing you the best of luck, Cowgirl.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me again, Dakota.
Thank you for spending your time with me on the Cowgirl Confessions podcast. I'm so glad y'all stopped by. If you could take a moment to share this episode and tag us on social media, I'd be happier than a cowgirl in a sea of buy one, get one vintage turquoise. Subscribe to make sure you don't miss an episode. New episodes will be released bi-monthly. Please leave us a review if you feel so led by going to iTunes. Your feedback will really help us breed the idea of grabbing life by the horns with a cowgirl state of mind into women across the globe. Some that may have never even had the privilege to throw their leg over a horse, but could most certainly use the cowgirl state of mind while navigating life. Thanks again, y'all. Until next time, keep pursuing your dreams with that all go and no woe mentality. Remember, you're writing a story that's worth saddling up for, sister.